All right, we are live. Social Selling Hour on this October 6th. This is show number 21. We are in the 20s now, so it feels like we are an established, not only Google Hangout, but a Twitter chat. And I'm here, of course, with my co-host and the brains behind Social Selling Hour, Rachel.
Hey everyone.
And yeah, and our special guest who is gonna liven up this hour with us is Tamara. How are you doing today?
I am doing great.
Awesome.
Fabulous. Yes.
And you're joining us from where today?
I am in Colorado. If you know Colorado, it's closest to Boulder, but I'm actually in Longmont.
Ah, okay. I'm very familiar. I did a lot of work in Colorado Springs, so I'm pretty familiar with Colorado in general. And Rachel's in the California area, so we have the West Coast contingent today. But we are talking of course, probably one of our favorite topics of all of our social selling hours is anytime we talk about the importance of relationships and really taking things to the kind of the next level and really what is changing the game with social and social selling. So give us a little background about yourself, and then we will jump into the questions.
Well, I am all about relationships and looking at how relationships affect every area of our life. So whether it's our business relationships affecting us in business or our home relationships, I mean, I don't know anyone who is highly successful and feeling good about their success if their home life isn't connected and doing well. And on the flip side, you know, your home life can be doing well, but then you're not paying attention to your business life, and then it's really tough to meet your goals that you've set for yourself as far as where you'd like to be living financially. So to me, it's all interrelated. It's all interconnected with relationships, and how successful your relationships are is equally proportionate to how successful and good you feel in your own life. That's about me.
No, and that's, you know, I think it's funny because we had Tim McDonald on a previous show, and one of the things, like, for, you know, he had, I think right at that same time he had a blog post where it was life work, and it wasn't life work balance. He just called it living as a whole. So he's like, if you're living, and if you're living, you know, you're as a whole, that's the complete package. And I thought that was a powerful way of kind of explaining that and discussing the value of kind of having all elements of relation. And I think, you know, even social takes it to another level because our relationships are now not limited by borders or your location. As you can, you know, we're chatting here today, haven't met face to face yet. Hopefully that'll happen. I actually haven't met Rachel face to face yet either. So we've been doing this for 21 weeks and haven't met face to face. I think that's even, you know, another example of the power of relationships, thanks to, you know, social and what it allows us to do.
Yes, and you know what's interesting, Brian, is I actually just interviewed Jo Frost last week. She's the super nanny from the UK.
Yes.
Amazing woman, absolutely amazing. Totally fell in love with her. She's just phenomenal. She's the real deal. And you know, we were talking about work-life balance, and she said something very interesting that I loved, and that was it shouldn't be called work-life balance. There's no such thing as this balance or this balancing that we do. And it's not something that you find. It's not something that you stumble upon and go, oh, there it is. I'm finally finding balance. No, I mean, there's no such thing. And I think most of us can be frustrated when we hear work-life balance because it sounds like a bunch of hooey, doesn't it?
It does.
It sounds like a lot of pressure because I know my work-life balance is so different to your work-life balance, and you know what we need to do to be happy and successful. So it is. I know for me, whenever I read those articles, I feel like, "Who am I doing it right or am I doing it wrong?"
No, Rachel, it's step one, do this. Step two, do that. Really? Come on. We all know that's ridiculous, right? So it's not about finding balance in those relationships. It's about creating what it is that you want, and for each person, that's different.
I love that because I think that's also like plays into the idea. It's like I hate anybody that tries to tell me something to create something that's perfect, because I think perfect is an illusion. With change and everything that we're doing, perfect not only is different for everybody, but it's also something that will always be adapting. Like I focus on, I talk about a lot, being happy today and making tomorrow a little bit better than today, and after that, I'll get to that when we get there. And I think this is kind of a perfect segue for question one. And thanks to everybody on the Twitters that I see the hashtag blowing by here below. But question one: relationships are the key to social media success. How do you use your relationship skills in social media? Kind of how, especially from like the offline world, which I know I watched and followed along on CMO Club last week, and you were doing interviews, and that world is face to face. I can see is your bread and butter, and then doing it on social. So how do you kind of take those two, the offline and the online relationship skills?
Well, it's really about being skillful at context, right? So, I learned a long time ago that context is key. I have a son with autism, and teaching him social skills. I mean, some people don't have those innate social skills built in, and it is teachable. And how you begin is to look at context. Okay, so if you're in the grocery store line, you're going to handle a conversation differently than, say, you're in a power meeting with your board of directors, right? And it's the same way with social media. Let's not forget it's social. Okay, so I look at all the social media platforms are different. They all have a different flavor and personality. So let's take, for instance, Twitter. Twitter to me is the cocktail party. Okay, so when you're at a cocktail party, you don't beat somebody over the head with your promotional package and shove a book in their hand and say, hey, buy this. No, you're at a cocktail party. It means be cool, baby. Warm me up. Let's talk. Ask me about me. You ask me, we're having a conversation. We're having a dialogue. It's about a social interaction where you begin to cultivate a relationship over time, but you got to warm people up. And I think that it's context, because then as we talk about the other platforms, I'll tell you what I think the venue is, and how when you shift your context, you shift your communication, you shift the kinds of pictures you post and the comments you make based upon the venue, because that's the context with your social relationship.
I love that. Anytime I get the questions like, "What's your social media strategy?" I always reply back with, "What network? What's your goal?" Because
right.
I'm one that I try my best to spread myself out on every network, and usually it's people are like, "Oh, how do you manage that?" And I'm like, "Well, I have a unique strategy, a unique goal, and I deliver something different on each network. There's not one thing that I do across." Even the joke of Ello, I've been using Ello, more recently, and it was like, well, is this the Facebook killer, or is this the? And I'm like, no, it's just another avenue. I just can't figure out what the hell I'm going to use it for. Right. That's an interesting one, and I love that. And we had Nicole Miller, who is the community champion and rock star over at Buffer, said, I think authenticity and honesty are the key, and I've said it many a times that I'm a huge fan of Buffer, not only because of how they deliver transparency and they embrace so many things across their company, but they're authentic because they expose everything. There is nothing that's not exposed and not who they are. So I think that's another great example. And I know, from a perspective on there, when you think of Twitter and you said the cocktail party, what relationship? Where does that? Is it the cocktail party after an event where you're getting to know someone? Like, how do you fit in the cocktail party, offline, compared to what we're doing online?
Well, how I look at it is this. When you go to a party, there are people already there that you know, right? And then there are new people that you're meeting. So it's the exact same way. There are people on Twitter that I've really gotten to know, and so they're at the party and I know them, and so I kind of feel comfortable hanging out with them, right? And catching up with them, and that's your comfort zone. But then there are the people you don't know yet at the party, and you engage them a little bit differently. You don't bomb their feed with like 1,000 tweets when you're just meeting somebody, right?
Yep.
And so there's this there is a social, I would say there is a social skill involved with how you tweet on Twitter. It's the same as you would if you attended a party. And you're going to interact with people you know and people you don't know yet, but that you'd like to know a lot better. And so if you want to know somebody, it's not all or nothing. It's not just now. Hey, chill out, take a sip, lean back. You can tweet with them today, tomorrow, the next day. It doesn't have to all be accomplished right now. I've actually, what I've had, Brian? I've had people where I've just met, or we've just friended. And before we've even had an interaction or a dialogue, they've asked me to buy their book.
Wow. That's why anyone who says, you know, like if you send me a DM without ever connecting with me on or on LinkedIn, if you send me one, I always say, do you throw your business card at me when I walk in the door? Because if you do, I promise I'm gonna duck and I'm not gonna take it. Just like someone that sends me an in-mail without ever introducing me or like that's just to me it's the rudest smack in the face.
It is. It's like showing up somewhere and being introduced to somebody, and you shake their hand and you go, "Oh, here, let me hand you my marketing packet." Well, you know where it's going to go? It's going to go in the trash. And on Twitter, what that means is you don't get tweeted back.
Yep.
Or people unfollow you. So it's about being, I'd say, respectful of your space. You know, there's a personal space with Twitter. Well, there's a personal space with all social media. And you have to pay attention to that. You have to observe the social cues that people are giving you on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. There are social cues. Are they responding or not? You don't have to respond to absolutely every tweet. At some point, you can just like it and then be done with the conversation for a while.
Well, that's a perfect lead into question 2. Obviously there's a big difference between a typical business relationship and a social relationship. So how do you define a relationship on social media?
I think the relationship on social media is exactly social. And as you begin to go deeper with someone and there is going to be business conducted, you take it offline. When you're engaging in an actual business relationship or transaction or meeting, the parameters are already set of why all the players are there. We're there to sit down and negotiate a contract, or we're looking at the business specifically. When you log on to social media, it's not private unless you're doing it by DM or private message. I mean, it is out there on the feed, so you need to treat it as a social interaction, which to me is foreplay to business, right? So it's the foreplay to business because you're getting to know one another. It's social, it's fun, it's a lot more casual and relaxed. When actual business transactions take place, typically they take place moving it offline or at least into some private messaging.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They try and sell online. They skip the wooing part.
And if we were doing this as a dating talk, I can tell you right now that the warm-up is very, very important. Just as much as someone isn't going to go out with you or on a second date, someone is not going to whip out their credit card just because you threw all your materials at them.
Well, I use the Gary V quote. You know, there's no sale without the story, right? And because I believe in the power of storytelling, I believe that the key to these relationships is that you're memorable. You know, I have in linking this to social CRM or these tools, like one of my favorite things to do is I have a notes section that I keep track of where this person loves to engage with the most. So even though I follow them on every single social channel, where's the place where I'm going to get a response? And that's not because I'm impatient. It's because I care enough to want to do that to where I want to make this relationship profitable for the both of us, and that's going to where they like to engage. And that's not just showing up at a cocktail party or showing up at an event and I'm all about winging it for lots of different things, but there's an element to the difference between a conversation that leads to a relationship and just a random one-off conversation at the bar, other than having too much to drink. That would probably be the caveat on both sides, but it's that idea that you're memorable. You created a story and a reason for these people to care on the next step.
Well, I think you said 3 very salient points. One is you have to care. Right? This is what you're telling me. You actually care about the people that you're interacting with. So you're making a choice to really go a little deeper. Second thing that you said that was very important is the power of story, which I just blogged on today. I totally believe in that because since ancient time, that is how we do connect. That is how we pass information. That is how we remember things. I mean, story is huge and storytelling is important, and you can tell a story over time. And I know we're going to talk about those particular issues later in some future questions. I know you're going to ask me about your brand on social media. And the third salient point you made that I am going to champion is never, ever, ever engage on social media and drink at the same time.
I like that. Now, and I will promise that if that was 3 points, I'd be at my limit now. So we might be we might be maxed out on that side. And so this actually not drinking or having a focus or understanding what you're doing is good because question 3 we talk about discipline and focus are necessary for social influence, personal branding. When we're talking social and relationships, and Ted Rubin, a big fan of his and his book, and one of the things that he always loves to point out is that there's no easy button. It's not short term. So when you think, I love a lot of the videos I was watching that you have on your site where you talk about the long-term goal, but at the same time that short-term conversation. So can you give us a little more background on that one? Like that whole idea of formalizing long-term goals.
Well, so you have to look at what your purpose is for being on these platforms. And most of us, I mean, I don't know about you, Brian, but I've got 24 hours in my day. How many do you have in yours? So you've got this much time, right? And
yep.
So if you're on these platforms, you have to say to yourself, why am I on here? Okay, so if you don't have a point, okay, that's fine. That's probably not our audience right now. But if you have a point for being on social media, if you have a book or you're a speaker with a platform or you're a business owner or whatever it is that you're on social media to gather like-minded individuals or a group of people who have an interest in the area that you have an interest in, you want to make sure that you have a plan for how you're going to find and connect with the people who are most interested in your message or your product or your book, but on the flip side that you're interested in their message, their product, and their book. Because it's a relationship. That's the thing. I mean, that's the thing I think that puts most of us off, is that when we connect with someone who's not interested in the relationship, they just want us to buy their stuff, we feel a bit assaulted by that because we are looking for a give and take. I think the best plan is to know your audience, what your purpose is for being on social media, and having a plan for how to utilize your time, and also be social, be a giver, and be supportive of other people. I mean, you got to share the love and care about the other people as well. I need to care about you, Brian, and what you're doing, and I need to care about every single person that's on my social media network because they're people. And they all have goals too, and it's about being supportive that way, and being also supportive of Rachel over there in California.
No, I think
down tweeting.
Yeah, and no, I think the element there that I find the most important is that not only do you have to promote and share and what those other people are saying, but you have to actually care enough to engage. There's so many people that I feel like would have built a long-term relationship with, and if I don't understand what they're doing, what their goals are, what value am I providing them? And Rachel had a great guest post on Millennial CEO on too many people just link drop, auto share every single thing that comes in without actually reading it. And I love the post because it's like, if you don't take the time to read what you're sharing, why should your audience and your followers take that time? Like, what value does that provide? And I don't know, Rachel, you could give a little bit more background on that post. I think that kind of ties in perfectly into this message of you have to care.
Yeah, I think I'm really pleased. There's a lot of platforms coming out that you're able to add your own commentary when sharing on social, much like people have been doing on LinkedIn and Facebook for a while. And it provides the value add. Like, why should I read this? Just because you tweeted it? You didn't write it. I don't know if you really read it. So I think it shows more appreciation also to the author when you take the time to add your own commentary, because it shows you actually read it and you digested that information, which is important. It's knowledge sharing. That's what we're doing.
Exactly. And I think what's key about that is that, blog posts these days, you look at them and very few people comment under blog posts anymore because they're making their comments over on Twitter or they're making their comments over on Facebook. And so we used to measure things by comments underneath our posts, but now you almost can measure it by number of tweets, number of Facebook likes, LinkedIn shares, and so if commenting in some way is important for the author, but also, like you said, it means that you read the article before you shared it, so that you're not just putting junk out there onto your stream. And I also think it's important to read it, because sometimes, have you ever clicked on an article that you think is going to be great, and when you get on there, it's actually a sales page?
Yes, or it's actually crap. It just had a great title.
Like, I am not going to tweet a sales page out to my friends and people that I connect with, because I am not out there to pitch like that. But there are a lot of sales pages that are made to look like they're a blog post, and they're not a blog post. It's a sales letter. I know sales letters.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Josh Moore posted on Facebook this weekend, and he tagged me in a post, and it was talking about the brand new social network that's going to be released in November, and the whole thing was a completely faked. But it had a link and had all this information, and his goal was to see how many people just the fear of missing out and just automatically share it, not read it, and it was kind of perfect, because I think it kind of plays into this. And Ramon De Leon is on the Twitter, a big fan of his, my brother from another mother for sure. And he said, a social media relationship is always on, it's real and transparent, and allows people to know the face behind the logo. And I don't know if you could put one better into 140 characters, but I think he crushed it right there with that importance of. And I put that quote behind me where people follow you, not the the logo or the handle or even the account. It's you as the person, and that goes for sales. That goes. I was laughing. I was getting pitched this weekend on a product that someone wanted me to be a partner on, and it was very nice. They had a great product, but the entire time they were just talking all about themselves, not really talking about anything that had to do with a two-way relationship. And I kept asking the question, well, what value am I going to provide? Well, I think they just really wanted my 15,000 followers. They don't want anything other than me to be tweeting and promoting their stuff, which has value. But I think the idea of kind of taking it to the next step, and I think brands probably struggle with this the most, because brands really are like, if I have to measure ROI, or if I have to turn this conversation into actually sales and make that sales pitch, like how do I do that without it being a long-term engagement? And there is no easy button. But question 4, we kind of talk about what are some common hurdles on the road to these social relationships, especially if we're talking brands that are trying to build these relationships. And I know I've heard a couple different sides for yours, so I'm interested in where you take this.
I think the trouble, or one of the stumbling blocks for brands, is the getting trapped in just putting out your information and doing the old-fashioned broadcast. And brands absolutely have to be responsive. They have to be engagers. People really want the brand to engage with them. They want to connect with the brand and feel a part of them. And it's a totally new picture out there with respect to marketing and brand management, and also looking at brand loyalty, because your customers are talking about you, and you better be listening and interacting. So it's a different world out there right now, because people are demanding engagement, and that's what they want.
Well, I think you said one of my favorite things now is listening. Social listening. I have not only am I found that I spend way more time now social listening than I do anything else on social, and I'm really using some of these new tools that filter the noise, because there's noise. We even those of us that love Twitter and those of us that love every platform, we know it's noisy. It's noisy. I'm a huge advocate of Twitter chats, but I promise you the Twitter chat hour when someone's following me is very noisy for them. So I respect and understand that. So part of the way for brands is really to social listen and engage before that person's engaging you. I wrote about it in my blog post this morning, was create humble brags for your customers and your fans, and it's really easy. If you see someone checks in on Foursquare or Swarm and says that they're going to be attending an event or coming to your hotel, by simply tweeting out and saying thank you, we hope you enjoy your stay, that's a great element. But if when they arrive we say, hey, we appreciate you checking in, and putting it on a little card in their hotel room, they're going to humble brag, take a picture, and promote that, and that's a relationship. Like, I'm going to stay at a hotel that gets someone else bragging about a reason, rather than just a brand's post saying stay at our hotel, we're the best hotel in San Antonio.
Right. I think the Sofitel should have done that for me in Beverly Hills, don't you think, Brian? Because
Yes.
I actually tweeted and Facebooked a picture of their little slippers in front of my bed. So, they would have got a lot more mileage if they would have done what you said.
Right, and all that takes really is social listening. Like there's so many things out there today where I use Twitter and I use proximity data when I'm at an event, and I don't have to be following everybody, and maybe not everyone's even using the right hashtag, but I can actually look at tweets that are just within a 5-mile radius of where I'm at. Like that's a powerful tool, and I'm not sure that all brands know that, or even all brands care to use that. And
Right.
with new Internet of Things devices, and we all have our smartphones connected to GPS, and we're worried about data. Well, I mean, the amount of data that I'm willing to give out for convenience and all of those things, social selling, like I'm giving you all the data, brands. Like brands, you have everything you've ever wanted to build a relationship, start a conversation. Why are you not using it for more than just blasting me and saying buy this or download this white paper?
Right, exactly. Yeah,
So,
and brands do have a lot more data now available to them about what the customer is interested in, and I think if they would engage more, and I think that's a problem for some companies, is they don't have the staff to be able to handle that level of engagement, and then for complaints, taking those complaints offline. It's very important to take those offline immediately. You do not want to be having a negative chat on your screen.
Agreed. I don't know if it's really a matter of resources. I think it's education. I think, I know I've said this before, I know Brian knows, people don't know how to use their tools. It's like everyone I know has Hootsuite, but 5% of them actually know how to use it. And I think it's the same. There are a lot of great social listening tools out there, but no one has taken the time to leverage them. Major pet peeve of mine. So I really don't think it's a matter of hiring more people. It's just about whether training or having the right people in the right places.
Well, Rachel, you bring up a good point. I think there are a lot of people that don't know how to use their tools.
Unfortunately, yeah. It's I don't know why. Maybe it's a patience thing. No one, it's part of that 24 hours in a day. You just said it. You make time for priorities.
You're gonna take me off your show right now. You're like, she's banned. She's naughty. Don't let her on the show. We're not
I love it.
right now, Tamara. So you're out of here.
Those dang Pisces.
This program. I'm sorry. I forgot, guys, that I never behave.
That's great, though. It's part of the fun. Okay, well, speaking of tools, this is actually a good one. So how do you identify and nurture new relationships on social?
How do I identify and nurture them? Well, I am looking for people who are speaking kind of with the same energy and level of engagement, those that are interested in similar topics. Those are the people that I'm looking to invest my time in for a couple of reasons. One, they're just doggone fun. And if I'm going to be on here, I want real engagement. I want people who, if I talk to them, they talk back. If they talk to me, I am certainly going to talk back. I don't think, if I've ever ignored anybody, they can tweet me now, but I reply and answer everybody who gives me a personalized message, unless it's just rude. Well,
that definitely deserves a response.
Well, actually, if someone's rude, I just ignore it, delete it, or a block, because some of them are very rude. But otherwise, because if I engage that, I'm giving them energy, and really that's all they want sometimes is your energy. And so I really save all of my energy for those people that I feel we have a common bond, we have common goals. I love other business professionals. I love entrepreneurs. I love people who are writers they are writing, the hashtag am writing, and write tips. I love writers and people who are writing books, but those are the people that I'm engaged in giving my time and energy to. And at the same time, how do I nurture those relationships? It's what Brian said. I care. So I know what everybody is doing. I look at their profiles. I'll go to their websites. I know what they're doing, and I try my best to support them. So if it's a book, I'll try to tweet out their book or their Amazon link. to help them out. If it's a new business, I like to promote their business. If it's that they're just trying to develop a community or more followers, then I'm tweeting them out and letting everybody know how wonderful they are so that they can be followed by what I believe. I have the most amazing followers on Twitter. I love, love, love them. And so if there's somebody I think is great, I want to share that person with my people because I do have awesome people. And I noticed that there will be people on Twitter who have 100 gajillion followers. They tweet something and it's never retweeted. So they have zero, and I mean like zero engagement. Well, what good is that? You know, I've got, you know, maybe I've only got 21,000 something followers, but when I tweet something, people are tweeting back and retweeting and commenting because they are real people. And I think real people respond because you care about them, and they are real relationships, not bot relationships, and also not just an accumulation for some sort of egoic need to feel important because you've got a lot of people on Twitter, which you and I both know is laughable at the real cocktail party, right?
Right.
Come on now.
And the truth is, you can't use it as an excuse that you're too busy or you follow too many people, because that's all what you're doing, right? It's not, no one's forcing you to, you know, to do that. And there's a couple ones, like when we're talking tools, too often we talk about we're trying to put a tool to fix a problem rather than fixing the problem and then finding a tool to amplify it or increase productivity. Like for me, tools make the time on social fun because the tools do all that background work. And there's two of the tweets that I had to call in here. Jessica Roberts, and she's from SpiderCube, by far one of my favorite tools that I'm using all the time. And she said, you know, don't shortchange listening, jump to responding. Be timely and don't be in a hurry. And that's, you know, real time and the right time are two really important things. And like I think that's too often people either are using our tool or aren't using the right tools, and they mix that up. And then another one, Buffer, Nicole Miller said, you know, we reply using Spark Central HQ, which is another great tool. I've been very lucky to have a demo and use that with a couple of clients, and their tool is amazing for customer service. And she even put on there, we've been known to send stickers, and I have to give her a shout out. She sent me these cool cloud stickers this week. So
stickers. I want stickers.
Yeah, so I started the Twitter chat and hangout cloud talk this week, and so she sent me this a nice "You Rock" a letter and, you know, awesome. Stickers, and how cool is that? Like, that's a relationship, because not only did I didn't ask for that, I didn't tweet that to Buffer. It was something that I'm building outside of the normal engagement that I have with Nicole, but yet she sent that to kind of show that not only she cares, but she's building a relationship, and she probably used with one of those tools to see, hey, this person's talking about this element, you know. And another tool that I really like is BuzzSumo, and that's another one that you have to check out because it can even do it via content. So it can track your content elements, but, you know, I love that idea of, you know, kind of where we're going. And Mitch Jackson giving us a thumbs up from Google Hangout. I'm a big fan of Mitch, a lawyer out of California that really does social right, and he's giving us a thumbs up joining us on the Google Hangouts. Right now we're up over 40 viewers on the Google Hangout. This is our largest viewership live for a chat, so.
Yeah, come on.
I'm not sure if it only has to do with the innuendos that are being dropped, but no, I think that's awesome. We really appreciate the community side. So, question 6. This is something I know you have videos, you blog about it. I've really liked your blog on Switch and Shift, on just talking about what is the relationship economy.
The relationship economy is so freaking exciting. I'm slightly wild about it. I like it because it levels the playing field, right? So this new emerging economy is, if you take a look at historically, those who had great power had what? Cha-ching, right? Yep. The money. Money equaled power. So in this new relationship economy, it's all about an individual can have incredible power through their social equity. And that's because there are studies out there right now. I'm actually writing a book. It's due out in 2015. Yay, high five.
Yay.
Yay.
the social economy, the relationship economy, and there is research that substantiates exactly what I'm saying, and that is that people make buying decisions based upon what their friends say. You know, we all do this all the time in our real life. You want to get your house, if you want to get your house cleaned, you'll ask people who they've used that they like. Would you hire someone based on a referral or someone based out of some ad? You're going to go with the referral. So it's the same thing with social media, is that people are using products and services that other people have used and have gotten a positive response from. And so one person can have quite a lot of social equity built up if they have a lot of friends and followers. And so what they say actually counts, and it affects companies, products, services out there in the economy currently.
So in the context of the relationship economy, how does the quality versus quantity play in? Like we have, LinkedIn, there's the lions who connect with everybody, people who connect on LinkedIn and Facebook just as a vanity, like I have 10,000 followers. How is that building your equity? Or does it build your equity?
I'm sure you guys know the metrics of different vehicles where you can look at someone's, say, clout score. And so clout is going to look at, I mean, we all know that number of followers is not what we're talking about when we talk about social equity. We're talking about engagement. We're talking about your personal power. Say for instance, Rachel, your power and influence on the social media channels is not directly related to your numbers necessarily. It's your level of engagement. When you post something, do people reply? Do they retweet? Do they favorite it? Or do you have 1 billion followers and post something and it's crickets? No one's retweeting, no one's faving. Why? Because that's not your power. Your power is in the level of true engagement that you have on the various platforms.
No, I like this. And Greg Wilson on Twitter said, relationship economy levels the playing field. So and that's kind of what you're saying. That's a highlight. I think that's a huge point for me. Like I always used to say when this was right out of college, and someone would say like, Brian, how's it going looking for jobs? And my answer was always like, get me the interview, get me face to face. I guarantee I'll get the job. And they would go, well, what's the problem? Why can't you? And for me, like my paper resume wasn't dynamic. I didn't do a very good job of talking about myself. But if you got me on video, you got me. And so social media for me was that ability for me to be me, who I was, and for me to be my own marketer, my own salesperson, my own promoter, tell my own story. And there was no filter. I didn't have to pay for someone. I didn't have to write a static resume. And for me, that's where social really took off because, like you said, it's all about that, it's that relationship capital because if you don't invest the time, if you're not, engaging, if you're just one-way communications, the unfollow button is very easy to use. And I use it a lot more now than I used to because I used to think of it was like, oh, well, all the cool kids are following A, B, and C. Well, if that person never engaged with me and doesn't care what I'm saying, unfollow. I don't need to really, listen on that side. So I think that's a huge value for social is we are the ones that control. There's no one to blame that if they don't know your story, what you're sharing, what you're about, you're the person to blame because you didn't share your story, engage, and give them a reason to care.
Exactly, and I think where this new economy is going to shake things up and make it kind of exciting is that not only is it going to bum you out, Brian, because you don't have equity anymore because of your billions. Sorry, buddy. But, God, where's the laughter? Where's the laugh track? I want my laugh track.
See, I'm laughing, but I had it on mute, so I was trying to type. So I was laughing, though. I was definitely laughing.
Well, so anyway, I mean, you see these companies or individuals, right, who have the big numbers, and they're following back like, okay, so they have 3 billion followers, and they're following back 52. What is that? I mean, really? Come on now. Are you really that special? I mean, it's time to check the ego. It's time to...
Well, yeah, because you want all these people to follow you and reshare their stuff, but you don't even care enough to fake it. Because, when it comes down to it, no brand is staring at their Twitter feed so that every single follower is flying down their thing. So, if you don't even care enough to fake it, why would I care enough to even...
I think we should all quote Brian and tweet it out there. Brian said, Let's all fake it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. It's the truth, and it comes down to that trust element, right? I mean, like there has to be. It's a two-way street, and if you're not trusting, like a big soapbox for me is that if you wrote a great book about A, B, and C, and you wrote about it 4 years ago, and yet you're still promoting and using that book, but you're not doing anything that book describes as what you considered value, and then your excuse is that you're too busy or that it doesn't work. Like if it doesn't work for you, why should I think it's going to work for me? That I think that's part of this trust element is that we have to get over the fact that transparency does not build trust. Transparency allows you to be your honest self so that people trust you. Like that's the misguided side there, because oversharing and all of that nonsense that comes along with that is that sometimes people do wrong. But I think this is a good one. Integrity is a interesting one for me, or lack thereof. When people are social behaviors, or how, let's say, a salesperson engages online, how does integrity fall in there with amplification and really how social relationships are built?
Well, I think you have to be consistent with your message always, right? So what is your message? And so everything that you tweet or put on Facebook or on LinkedIn needs to be in alignment with what your message is. So, always be constantly conscious and aware of what is my message, because your integrity needs to be, you can't say one thing and do another, right? And people do it all the time. So it's not that you can't, it's just if you want to be in your integrity, you can't. So if you say that this is the funniest one ever. If you say that you are a social media evangelist, or that you're a social media expert, maybe don't
Guru.
until after you're, when you've got 800 followers or 1,200 followers, I don't know that you're the social media expert. I'm just saying, I could be wrong, but
where's the social proof?
Well, yeah, and I think that's that also comes down to the idea of rather than tell me what you are, why don't you prove it by what you're doing, your actions, right? And social is not only is it, I love it because it's the greatest test bed ever, but it's also the element where I don't care what the words are that you're tweeting, your actions speak a hell of a lot louder. So if you preach relationships, and Ted Rubin jumped in the chat, and I give a big shout out to him. He was one of the first people. Yeah, we're all big fans of Ted for sure, and he was one of the first people I remember that had 100,000 followers, and yet he was individually replying, and we built a relationship to the point where we ended up going. I've been very fortunate that he's been kind of a mentor for me, and it all was because he cared enough to reply and then looked into who I was, and him taking an interest in me made me want to read all of his books, read every blog post that he has, share it with everyone, promote and tell people they need to follow him because he does what he's talking about. And I think, I guess my element is we have to stop promoting and elevating those that aren't doing what they're saying. And I think that's a tough thing because some people have really relationships, and I was brought into a circle conversation to say, Brian, there's a social media mafia that you might piss off. Well, my problem is I won't piss you off if you're actually doing what you say. So if you aren't doing what you say, then sorry, you're not going to be on my list of people that I will share or promote. And as a social community, it's up to us to promote those that are doing what they're saying. And that's why I'm so glad that you jumped on with us today, because just the idea that I was drawn to your original posts and engagement back and forth. And I think we went directly from a Twitter chat to we were engaging on Facebook Messenger for a long period of time, and then I was watching YouTube videos, and all of that was because we created a conversation on Twitter. And I'm not positive that I would have run into you if social media didn't exist. And now I'm better because of that, and I think that's the power of social that we describe.
I couldn't agree with you more. First of all, totally agree with you on Ted Rubin, because that was my exact experience as well. That man is amazing. He contacted me, looked at my site. Somebody looks at your site. Doesn't that make you feel good? Aw, they care, right? And then meeting you on Twitter, you know where you had me, Brian?
Uh-oh.
You had me at the picture of your daughter and Daddy TV. Sorry.
Oh, yes.
I was just hooked, totally hooked. So,
yes. See, and that's a good example of the work life side, because I don't believe transparency works for everybody, but that's me. Like I am 100% me. That's kind of how I work, because I couldn't figure it out. And I mean, how cool is that? That's great for me to know, because now I know that, like, it works great because I shared that picture of me watching, feeding my daughter while watching Sports Center, and and doing a Twitter chat at the same time. That's awesome.
That's incredible. And the thing of it is, all of us have lives, right? Beyond this screen, we all have lives. And yes, we have businesses we're trying to run and connections, and we're doing the social thing. But I mean, come on, as it all comes down to it, we're just people. We're human beings trying to create a lovely existence. We all want freedom. That's probably why we're on the internet. And when you connect at a human level, I mean, you're a dad. I connect with that. I'm a mom. Although my son is 14 now, so he'd kill me if I posted him on social media without his express permission, because I'm embarrassing, just so you know. But that's 14 for you, right? You'll be there one day, Brian. So, but I think that it's the human element. I mean, we all connect at our basic level with the fact that we understand one another. We understand the challenges. We understand what it's like to have an aging parent that we may be caring for, or kids, or friends in trouble, or a broken relationship. At the end of the day, we all are just human, and having that connection, there's nothing more uplifting to me than people don't know maybe what's going on in my day and the challenges that I have with my son. And, if you're a parent with a child with autism, you get me. I'm giving you a high five right now, because it's not easy. And when I see a little note from someone on Twitter, it makes me feel good. It does, because I feel like they're a real person, and they're seeing me as a real person. Same thing with Facebook or LinkedIn. Just a little, a little thumbs up goes a long way. Have you noticed that?
Yes. It's amazing how a thumbs up, a favorite, a retweet, a thank you, like, these things aren't hard. And I think your story, and that's, we could talk for another hour, because I think there's not only an element where I think you do an amazing job of being engaged, being who you are. You're presenting, you're speaking, but you're also promoting and sharing, what you have to go, your trials and tribulations. I know we were texting, or we were all tweeting back and forth while you were sitting at the hospital for the weekend. And to me, not only does the element of show you care, like you care by engaging, but you're also telling multiple stories and being who you are. And there's too many people today that I think of it as only the communication element of it. And when you're just doing one-way communication, there is no human connection there. There is no relationship. Like I want to help, and I want to work together, because I care in multiple different areas, not just because we both believe in relationships and social. And that's even another step up in the relationships from a social perspective.
Yeah, well, you guys, you and Rachel, have no idea how your genuine connection has meant to me. And even talking to you that weekend when I was at Children's Hospital, it just, for 1 hour, I didn't have to think about my life. I could just, focus on you guys and the great movement that we see and the things we want to do. I think in the end, the connection that I have with you and with Rachel, and even with, our buddy Ted Rubin, is that we see and feel that we have great power as a group to uplift one another. There is no reason why not every single one of us can be successful in the endeavors that we set out for ourselves if we would come together and support one another. To me, that's the exciting part about social media and social connections, is the power of the group to support the individuals together.
No, I think that's, I couldn't agree more on that side. And even from the element of, we have the power. There's no limitations on borders. There's no limitations on time zones. I started talking about how I have some of the greatest social relationships that I have are people that live on different continents and places I've never even visited, and that's because of social. So and I think as we kind of move into the we have 7 minutes left, so we could, like we said, we're running up against the time. We're on question 8, but
can we make a 2-hour call?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and maybe we'll have to do part 2. I'm always up to part 2. So the last one here, I love the idea of positive thoughts, positive inspiration. Going back to your story and you being positive, and me asking how your day was, and you were saying it's wonderful, it's another day, life is great, and then finding out you're sitting at the hospital, and dealing with personal things that you have to deal with, like that positive. And it's contagious. It's contagious as hell because I mean, if you watch your video, one of the ones I loved was vulnerability is sexy, and you have that video up on your site, and I laugh because the vulnerability, when someone's human, when a brand makes a mistake, when a person, if they are human and have that relationship with me, we all make mistakes. We make mistakes daily, but like when you think of this positive thinking side, maybe kind of give us a little bit on that as we're kind of wrapping up this hour side, because I think that is a huge element on who you are and why relationships work.
Well, for me, the state of gratitude to me has the most incredible energy to it, and just taking a moment to be grateful for the connections that I have. I see everybody on my stream or in the numbers as a real person. And when I take even a moment to consider everybody's lives and everybody's situations and just feeling into that, I can feel just such an expansion of gratitude and connection. And in this technological age, it's amazing that you can tap in that way and feel that. And the energy that we put forth out into the stream, whether it's a Facebook post, a LinkedIn post, or a Twitter post, if we put it out with intention, we have the capacity to bring the level of mindset or thinking up. And we can be positive. And positive mindset, an attitude of gratitude, which sounds so cliche, but it's so true, or love, caring about someone other than yourself, has such a capacity to uplift and inspire and empower. And the moment we give and empower others, it comes back to us. I cannot explain the spiritual principle behind it, but it is there. And if you can care and keep that positive mind up, I mean, every single picture that I put out on Twitter or Facebook, that's one of those inspirational quotes and picture, I can't tell you how important those are to me. I mean, I'm putting those quotes onto pictures that I select and choose because I want to set an intention. I want to set an energy out there that says, you matter, and wherever you're at right now when you're reading this, if it helps or inspires you or uplifts you, it affects me because we are all connected. If you are successful in your business, Brian, I'm successful. If you're feeling good, I'm feeling good, because it all comes back to us. So the more people we can uplift, the more people we can help, the more people we can support, the more people that we can bring to a place of a positive mindset instead of a negative mindset, we could actually blow this thing apart. That's how powerful we are as individuals.
That is an amazing way to end our discussion.
No, it is, and I think it's so funny that you can. I mean, my dad used to tell me all the time when someone were talking trash and you're winning in a sporting event was to smile and point at the scoreboard rather than being goaded in. And I was always kind of coming to the idea that a smile is really powerful. And another person that I thought that Tim McDonald is one of those guys that he shares some deep dark stories of depression in his world, and I would have never believed it until he expressed it, because he's one of the most uplifting social good people I've met, and his smile is one of those ones where he'll message me and say, hey, I need to get on a hangout for 3 minutes, and he'll get on there and he'll have the video camera right up there and he's smiling, and I can't help but want to he's one of the people that I would jump on an airplane in 5 minutes if he asked me to be somewhere, and it's because of that positive power relationship. And Rachel just tweeted out a quote from you, and I think it's the perfect ending or encapsulate what we talked about. Attitude of gratitude can uplift and empower others, and it comes back to you. I think that's, anyone that's selling, anyone that's dealing with social, using it for marketing, using it for when these relationships, that attitude of gratitude, I love that. It's it's that ability, no matter if you're an introvert, extrovert, if you're someone that's in different places in the world. I have some great connections with people in Dubai or in foreign countries that say, nobody here really is is promoting me because I smile, but it's an element that they want to help people outside of their boundaries. So I think that's an awesome quote. I'm gonna make sure I'm making a graphic for it as we speak, so that's gonna be out there for sure.
Woo, graphics! Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about that, did we? But graphics are powerful.
Your shared love of graphics, which is super cool. But no, I think that's my favorite thing about social is the relationships, and because we can have discussions like this with people that I would never have met or crossed paths with in any shape or form if it wasn't for social. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, I'm grateful for you, Rachel, and I'm grateful for all that you guys do, you and Brian, and for what you're trying to achieve here. And anything I can ever do to support either one of you, just you know how to reach me, don't you?
We do, that's for sure.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and so we'll make sure to send out some of the links that you have, Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and your website. Like I said, I recommend, this has by far been our biggest participation from, on our 21st chat, number of viewers on Google, and the Twitter has been crazy. There's been conversations within conversations that I'm not that great at multitasking, so I can't wait to jump back in there and hear some of that. And we'll definitely have you back on as either a part 2 or maybe a panel discussion, and we'll rope in Ted and Ramon De Leon in there, and we'll all talk about the that power of smiling and relationship to really make a difference. But thank you to everybody on Twitter. There's more people than we could even thank for sure. But we'll let you finish it up for us. Our closing words.
In the spirit of gratitude, every single person who even took a moment to check in with us, I want to say how grateful I am that you would even spend your energy with us, and that gratitude is there. Tweet me if you haven't gotten a tweet back from me. It's my pleasure. I want to connect with you, be connected with you, support you in any way I can. Brian and Rachel, you guys are fabulous. Anything I can do for you to support you, you know how to reach me. And for all of you, I mean, sincerely, it's been a pleasure and the highlight of my day because we had a lot of fun in this hour. So blessings to you all. It's been just such a wonderful time.
Yay! No, thank you so much. It's definitely been a huge honor to have you on today, and we've had some amazing tweets. So thank you again to the social selling community. You guys rock. And a reminder to everybody: we have our first large panel next week with Dave Stein, John Golden, and Barbara Giamanco talking what is good selling. So be sure to join us next week.
Yeah.
All right. Same time, same channel next week. Thank you all. Gratitude, an attitude of gratitude.
Attitude of gratitude for you.
Woo!